Welcome to the Crimson Vow Red Arena Sealed League set evaluation. We're going to do the red commons, uncommons, rares, and mythics, starting with Ancestral. Oh, sorry. I'm SpaghettiMitch.
And I'm Buildy.
So, yeah, we're going to start with Ancestral Anger. It's a sorcery for 1 red mana. Target creature gains trample and it gets +X+O until end of turn, where X is 1 plus the number of cards named Ancestral Anger in your graveyard. Draw a card.
All right. Interesting card to start off in red. It's a cantrip that gives itself gives one creature trample. It can be powerful. Red's pretty aggro, and this gets better in multiples. A little bit build aroundy, but I like it. I had a deck with 4 in it, did well. But you don't want to play 1 or 2.
I think it's not that you want to play 1 or 2. It probably won't make the cut if you only have 1 or 2 of these, but I think the value of 1 mana, get 1 card deeper into your deck is something that a lot of people overlook. That's what's going on with this card. Obviously better in blue and red, but the fact that this can be pretty aggressive if you do have multiples makes this I wouldn't call it build around necessarily, but it's going to become a really good card in your deck if you really want to churn through, like making your deck 39 cards for the cost of 1.
Yeah.
That's the strongest thing about this type of 1 mana cantrip effect.
Yeah, it's not quite cycling 1 because you have to have a creature.
True.
But
Well,
yeah,
you could put it on their creature if you're looking for land number 2. Let's say.
that's true. You can always stick it on their creature.
Yeah, if you're desperate. It's not what you want this card for, though, for sure.
I think it's a build around C. C minus is sort of it's kind of by its lonesome.
Yeah, you don't have to take this highly at all. If you are the only one picking these up, it's going to be a lot stronger. So, in general, it's going to be like a C minus kind of card. Blue red probably most interested for the spell effects. We'll go to our second card here.
Yeah, end the festivities. Another red, 1 red for sorcery common. End the festivities, deal 1 damage to each opponent, each creature, and each planeswalker they control.
Pick off all those planeswalkers.
Yeah.
It's just straight sideboard, I'd say. If you see a lot of plants or a lot of spirits in the deck, which I haven't come across that where I really want this card before, so it's just kind of a D. If you bring it in against the right side deck to sideboard, maybe it can reach a C or something. Get like three part cards for the 1 card.
Yeah, it's really going to be tough to kind of get your money, get your cards worth out of this. There's just better stuff you can play. I think it's a D.
Actually, I'm gonna say D minus. It's pretty much I'm never bringing it in main board. Just
Yeah,
if this isn't a D minus or F, then I guess nothing really will be. All right, next we have Flame Blast Bolt. It's a 1 mana instant, 1 red. It's the shock of the set, and this one does 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and it exiles instead of dying. So, yeah, what do you think of this?
I like Flame Blessed Bolt a lot. Not going to the face is not as kind of applicable, like since mostly you're going to target a creature with this, and I think the exile effect is really going to hit a lot more things than the times that you want to like shoot somebody in the face with it. This is definitely like key removal in the set.
Yeah, I don't think it's been this strong in a long time, and I'm just seeing the exile effect work so well against if it's against Undying Malice, any on death effects like the Scob. Is it called Scob Wrangler? The 2/1 that copies itself when it comes. Celebrant. Even if it's to exile like Herald Blessed Geist, there's so many reasons I want to exile here, and also the Fountain's a good recursion effect. This gets this kills a lot of stuff, and the exile is more relevant here than I can remember in a long time. I didn't even mention Disturb. This obviously kills Disturb stuff.
I've definitely 2 for 1 myself just to get the exile effect onto a creature.
I think instant removal though actually is also just generally strong in this set because you have auras that are coming down on creatures. more
Mm-hmm.
often than not, and that just gets not exactly 2 for 1 because the aura was a card beforehand. It's like 1.5 for 1. Anyway,
I like
I
C
think this
plus
is
for the
strong.
bolt.
What do you think the rating is?
C plus for the bolt.
I'm gonna give it B minus. It's just been more impressive than I've seen it be in a while. But yeah. All right. Our creature here.
Right, the Voldaren Epicure is 1 red for a 1/1 vampire common. When the Epicure enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. You create a blood token, and that's it.
The number 1 is really prevalent on this card.
Yeah,
This is not your average 1 mana 1/1. This is one of my favorite cards in the set. Not like that it's the most powerful or whatever. It's one of my favorite because it does more than it looks like. Just the fact, we said it a few times already, the fact that you get an early blood token prevents a lot of mana screw or mana flood issues. It's on 1 mana, so just getting it down on turn 1 can make you hit them for 3 or 4 if you include the ping it does. I think it's very decent for a 1 mana 1/1.
yeah. I don't think I'm gonna like play every single one of these I get, but I'm usually happy to have 1 or 2.
If you're lacking 2 drops, this is perfectly fine, and it's in like on turn 2 you can crack your blood, and it's not. It's often going to
Yeah,
be good if you're looking for a land or something. I think it's like um, it's probably C. I'm not
C
taking
for
it
me
over
too.
like a lot of stuff, but it's overperforming
Yeah,
for a 1 drop. All right, next thing we have a Braid. So it's 2 mana instant. We've seen this card printed a few times. It does 3 damage to target creature or destroys an artifact.
really like this card. Removal at a premium in this set. Two mana deal 3 is totally on rate. It's flexible. You can kill an artifact if it's hanging around. There are some that are relevant in the set. Edgar and um,
The back of Edgar, yeah.
and
The one
Statue that
two,
becomes a 5/5.
yeah, the 1/2 artifact.
Yeah, I really like a braid. I would jam as many as possible. It kills the flyers, those 3/3 flyers all over the place.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. A Braid and Flame Blessed Bolt. There's pros and cons to each. Which one do we like more? One costs double the other.
I wouldn't play more than 3 flame blessed bolts, but I would play 3 braids easily.
Yeah, this is better. I don't know why. It's just one. It does cost double. It's 1 point more damage. It doesn't have the exile, but I don't know. It's just turning out for the reasons we said. Instants are good. This is like, yeah. There's a lot of 3 health things too. There's 3/3s.
Yeah,
Those vampires that beat you down. That vampire that's a 3/3 with menace and
this
stuff. The
this
flyer,
just catches most of the set. I mean, most of the big stuff in the set. It
cruel
doesn't
witness.
get up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We gave Flame Blessed Bolt like I gave it a B minus. Wow. I'm gonna give this B. It's real. It's high. It's a high pick for me.
I give this a B minus. I think.
All right. Yeah. It's just we knocked them both up by a third of a letter grade.
Actually, yeah, B, straight up B. All right,
Red is
Celebrant.
awesome in this set.
Yeah, red's probably the best color. Blood Petal Celebrant is 1 in red for a 2/1 vampire common. It has first strike if it's attacking. When it dies, you create a blood token. Interesting.
Yeah. A two drop that has first strike when it's attacking. We've seen that before with no upside, and this helps you whether it's attacking or defending. So I think it's great. Defending, you get a blood token, and I talked about how good early blood tokens are. Like the epic here, this is going to give you when it dies instead of when it enters, but solid. What do you think?
Yeah, I like this a lot, and I know that interestingly enough, like LSU and the limited resources crew think they like the Epicure better than the Celebrant. I'm the opposite. I like the Celebrant better because this thing is relevant kind of throughout. It blocks a lot better if it ever gets blanked, and then you get a blood token afterwards.
They like them both. They said they were pretty close in terms of how much they like them, but yeah, they like the epic here better. Well, LSV did anyways. First strike gets better when you can buff creatures in general, there's not too much buffing of creatures as compared to sets usually have. Um, like Undying Malice gives you an extra attack or whatever, which is particularly good on this because you get the
I
death
really
trigger
like
again.
Undying Malice on this guy.
Yeah, well, any death trigger you get extra value, but yeah, this helps in two different ways. I, if I'm comparing this to Epicure, they're pretty close. I'm gonna give it also a C, like Epicure. They're pretty close. Maybe I give this a. I think I would give this a slight edge if I could, but they're really close in my mind.
Yeah, I'm giving this a C plus because again, I'm tossing. You know, if I have a deck list that's just 4 or 5 of these at my 2-drop slot, I'm not unhappy.
I just
I'm
like the
not
fact
playing
that
5
Epicure,
Epicures.
you get the mana screw or mana flood advantage right away without needing this to die. That's probably why. But yeah, both great for what they are. And here we have Hungry Ridge Wolf. So first like wolf we're seeing. It's 2 mana. It's 1 and a red. It's a 2/2 wolf. And as long as you control another wolf or werewolf, Hungry Ridge Wolf gets 1/0 and trample. So it can attack as a 3/2 trample on turn 3.
Yeah, pretty good 2-drop wolf if you're in the. I mean, you specifically want wolves. Don't play this in any other red deck, but I mean, it's a C in the wolf deck.
One of the advantages of this set compared to the last wolves deck is 2-drops, actually 2-drop wolves. There's quite a few good playable ones. This is not the best at all. This might be the worst, I'm not sure, but maybe the green one that gets a bigger toughness is worse. I don't know, but it's playable. Like I put it at C minus because there's actually good replacements for it, but it's still solid.
Yeah, C minus. All right, this is my pet card here. This is the classic Flame Breather. It's 1 in a red for a human shaman 1/3 common. It's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, the Flame Breather deals 1 damage to your opponent. So it's kind of um, the alchemist that untapped pinger.
Yeah,
Um,
I like this card just to sit on the board, be defensive against 1/1s, 2/2s, and it can end up hurting them a lot. You don't even have to be in the is it deck for this to go off like you might think. There's a good number of non-creature spells in other decks like red, not red green, but the other two red color combos. What do you think about it?
yeah, I think it's what the blue red deck perfectly wants. So these aren't taken very highly in draft. If you're kind of a defensive control deck in sealed, this will definitely do the thing. Keeping pressure up while you're being defensive, I think, is really important, and this helps you do that.
All in all, I think it's still C minus. I'm not picking it too highly, but it's going to be left in the pack near the end a lot of the time, so you can pick it up if you're interested in a 2-drop.
It's C for me just because you know
Yeah, makes sense.
blue red's my archetype. This deck
Okay,
in this set.
this is a little harder of a card to evaluate in general. Reckless Impulse, 1 and a red sorcery. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of turn. Until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So it is like Light Up the Stage from Ravnica Allegiance, the Rakdos card. But it costs in between the 2 amounts. I kind of really like this card. Maybe I like it more than I'm supposed to, but yeah. What do you think?
I think you're supposed to like this card. The trick is that think of it like expressive iteration, in that you're not really wanting to play it on turn 2. You're hoping to play it on turn like 3 or 4, kind of right as you run out of stuff, because you can instantly play a land from it, and then play the other spell that you get from it. Or if you kind of exile 2 lands, that's essentially like uh, almost like a draw 2 if you have nothing else to
Yeah, for
do.
2 mana, yeah.
So there's
I
not many situations that this isn't a 2 mana draw 2 in my mind.
Yeah. I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm playing 5 of these in my league deck because I just want to go reckless mode. And I have a Dreadfeast Demon, which has been exiled twice by this on turn 2, unfortunately. But if you want to dig through your deck for those bombs, this is a way to do it. It turns 1 card into 3 cards. I like
Yeah,
the idea. I have almost no 2-drops in my league deck too. That's why this is in there. It's not.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
mean
actually
some.
a way. Sorry, there's just a hidden thing about this card. When you're playing with a lot of blood tokens, often you don't play a lot of lands because you want to throw away the lands. But this actually gets those lands played anyway because you're going to be flipping them and playing them. That's just one thing I noted about the card.
Yeah, I think the thing to notice too is that don't, like if you're listening to this, don't worry about exiling your bombs turn two. It can be painful. You might like lose a little bit of power that way. But if you can't play it anyways, you might as well be getting other cards.
Yeah, you don't always need bombs to win. If your deck relies on that, it's probably not a good sign anyway. What do we give this card?
I look at it as C plus.
That's what I was thinking too. Definitely not B range. I'm probably taking it higher than a lot of C cards though.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to say C plus, but I'll go with C plus.
All right. Sure Strike is back. It's a
Mm-hmm.
1 and a red for a instant and common. Target creature gets +3 and gains first strike until end of turn.
Fine, fine combat trick. It's what you want in combat trick. It's gonna win you that combat, and that I mean, unless you get responded to, then you're not happy. But it's fine as far as combat tricks go.
Yeah, I think C minus for me. I think if your deck is lacking in removal and you sort of have an aggro plan, it slots in better, but I would sort of take a removal spell over this.
Yeah, I'm not. This is probably like C minus. You'll
Yeah.
find them if you need them, like a lot of C minuses. Here we have Belligerent Guest. It's a 3-mana 3/2 vampire with trample, and whenever it hits face, you get a blood token. 3-mana 3/2s with trample and another ability on top of that.
Yeah, I like this card. It's like a totally fine on rate vampire. Um, 3 power and trample. Usually it'll get a blood token. If you have removal, it gets nice. It synergizes with that like Gift of Fangs really well, in that it can pump itself up high or take the thing out that's going to block it, get a
Oh
blood
yeah,
token.
5/4 trample attacking on turn 4. That gets you stuff when it hits. That sounds good.
Yeah, I like it at a C. It's just sort of pairs off with the Petal Celebrant. It's the thing you want in your red aggro decks.
This is one of the most CSC cards I've ever seen. Just
Although the
you see a
art gets
lot.
A, just
Oh, an
like
A
just
for art. Yeah.
smashing the blood fountain there.
All right. Bloody Betrayal.
Bloody Betrayal is 2 in a red for a sorcery. It's the threaten effect of the set. So you gain control of a target creature. It untaps. You get haste on it, and you create a blood token. So the deal with set mechanic. Um, these cards really require you to have some sort of sack synergy to be good. I keep trying to live the dream of exploiting a creature that I've stolen with this, but
Mind
usually
Leech
not what you want to
Ghoul.
be doing.
Mind Leech Ghoul would be the cheapest way, right? With at 5 mana.
Yeah, or Anja, who can sack something at 2 too.
Oh yeah. Okay. That requires even more to go well. It's like a mythic with this. Yeah. This and it's just classic to have sacrifice and and threaten effects. To make threaten effects be good, and yeah, it's not so much a thing in this set, especially since the exploit deck's not very good. If you have a super aggro deck, you can play this too. Why not? But it's not very good. It's not very high pick in this set at all. So I'd give it a D.
Yeah, yeah, D. Maybe it's a D plus if you have some sack stuff to do.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Daybreak Combatant. This is a 3-mana 2/2 human warrior. It's got haste, but it's more than just a 2/2. It gives 2/0 to any creature on when it enters the battlefield for the end until end of turn. So it could be a 4/2 haster on for one turn, or buff another creature.
Yeah, I haven't found this card to be very good. I don't know about you.
No, human warrior. Humans. It's not even the deck for humans. The color. I mean, funny.
Yeah, it
Uh,
kind of just is a 3 mana 2/2 after one turn, so
there's not. I mean, okay, if you have an aggressive deck, fine. I could see putting 2/0 on Celebrants or the belligerent guests to be a thing. If you have nice keywords and throw this into an aggressive deck, I could see it getting better. Besides that, though, it's probably like D plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to be aggressive. Obviously, it says haste and it buffs a creature. Besides that, yeah, it's not going in any deck. We got a werewolf.
The Fearful Villager, 2 in a red for a human werewolf, 2/3 with Menace at common. It also has Daybound. It transforms into a 4/3 Menace werewolf. It's played.
It's a
Yeah,
strict downgrade from the black one from Midnight Hunt, right?
yeah. It's the Shady Traveler. So it's strong if you're in the werewolf deck, and you know 4/3 menaces are not painful, but you're not excited about playing it. There's other stuff you'd want to do.
It's too often gonna be day in this set. I find for the payoffs for the Nightbound cards are better in this set, but it's a lot harder to get it to be night. I'm finding. Um, the instant removal is not as common or played. That's a common way to get it to be night is you pass turn then play your instant removal, but it's not the instant removal is not as common or as played in this set. So I'm interested in the backside of this, even though it's worse than Shady Traveler. But this isn't the high pick for the werewolves deck. There's better werewolves, chunkier werewolves. If you need 3 drops
Yeah,
though, you're happy to play it.
C minus I think is where I'm giving it. It's
Yeah,
playable begrudgingly.
the commons that you don't really want to play usually come into C minus, D plus. So yeah. C minus sounds right. This card I thought was gonna be better than it is, but it's not because there's too many replacements. It's called Lightning Wolf. It's 4 in a red. It's a 4/3 wolf, and it has it has the ability to pay 1 in a red to give it first strike until end of turn. Unfortunately, only as a sorcery. So it's one of many things that are only a sorcery speed here that are traditionally at instant speed. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think that this is supposed to go in the werewolf deck. It's kind of like a first striker, but it's it seems like if you're in green red, your 4-drop slot is going to be wanting to do other stuff,
The
and you don't care
Mariner?
about the wolves that much. I've played it before, but it's again not super exciting.
No. Of course, the no threat of activation brings it down way more than where it would be.
Yeah,
Where do we like it? I think C minus. Just like I said, the commons you don't really want to play, but mostly make it, or C minus usually.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna put it in D range. I'll put it C minus.
Where your prisoner is next, another werewolf. 4 and a red for a 2/6 werewolf common. It's got defender. It has daybound, and it flips into the wrathful jailbreaker, a 6/6 that must attack every combat if able. Uh, so busts free and starts having to swing.
This one almost never makes the list. Its stats are
Yeah,
fine at a 2/6 if you really want that. You get then on the back you get a 6/6 with drawback. But yeah, as we said, the 4 drops. There's plenty of options at 4 if you're in the werewolf deck. This is just you sometimes want your 4 drop to do more damage than this. And if you're taking a turn off to make it nighttime, it's a bit later than you'd like to start brawling.
yeah. I think the thing about this card is that its rate is totally fine. You get like so many stats for 4 mana that it's good, but you just lose control of it, and so you are not going to be able to plan accordingly, which makes this card a lot worse.
I like
D
the
plus
flavor
for me, I
text.
think.
Your guard attacked me. He got what was coming to him, and now I'm coming for you. Yeah, I think D plus sounds right. It's a notch under the lightning wolf we just saw even. All right, Falconrath Celebrants. It's a 5 mana 4/4. It's 4 in a red. Vampire with menace. When Falconrath Celebrants enters the battlefield, create 2 blood tokens.
I like this card. I don't think I've played with it that much, but I think that's probably fault of mine. Um, this 5 mana menace plus a 2 blood tokens really is nice. The blood tokens mean that this can top your curve, and then everything after that you can just kind of try to get more things to get in the damage. Think
I
black red having like 4-drop menace, 5-drop menace. That's the
yeah
times that like they have multiple out there. It's just wow. Like
yeah
it gets better multiple.
menace combined with instant removal, so you got a braid and shock flame blessed bolt. Works so well with menace creatures because you blow them out. You kill one of their 2 blockers, and then this survives and kills the other one. Look at this card's really good. It's one of the best. It's one of the best commons in red for sure. You're getting not 1 but 2 blood tokens, and decks that already care about blood tokens and are doing stuff with them, it makes it even better. And you're getting 2 of them on a 5 mana 4/4 menace, so the tax for 2 blood tokens is like not even there. Um, yeah, this
I
is a
like it
great
at
curve
C+.
topper. Great curve topper, I think. I'm gonna give it C plus.
Cool.
I played with it and I'm impressed. 2 more comments here. We got Lacerate Flesh as our next card.
Lacerate Flesh is a 4 and a red for a sorcery common. It deals 4 damage to target creature. You create a number of blood tokens equal to the amount of excess damage dealt that way. So it kills 4 power things, but
Yeah,
or
this card
toughness.
is the begrudgingly gotta play it because I care about blood and I have no removal red card. I'm not impressed by what it does at sorcery speed. I would at least want it at instant. Then again, if you need to remove something, which in this set a lot of stuff has that has that quality, you're gonna play some of these. If the better deal you get out of this, the less blood you get out of it. So if this, I'd be happy to play this if it did 5 damage, but I'm kind of sad if I play this as my removal. I think like D plus ish.
Yeah, I think it's C plus range. I'm gonna give it a C just because it's so replaceable, but removal is not that replaceable in the set, so you often play it. Comparing it to like Bleed Dry or a braid kills just about everything that Lacerate Flesh does.
Yeah,
Doesn't give you the blood token, but does it at instant speed. And
I
Bleed
might
Dry is
be
just nuts for
I
4
may be
mana,
too
kills
harsh on
everything.
it because at the end of the day it is removal and that's so important in limited in general. I think I'll actually move it to C minus. Uh, it's just not the removal I want. I shouldn't punish it so much, but yeah, I'd say C minus sounds right. And our last common for red here, it's Pyre
So
Spawn.
the Pyre Spawn, it's 4 and 2 red for a 6/4 elemental. When it dies, it deals 3 damage to any target.
Yeah, another curve topper. It's not the one you're trying to play most of the time, but it does the job. It's could even end the game very quickly with its attack. It's really hard to attack into this because for obvious reasons. It's a solid curve topper, but there's just tends to be better ones in this set for red. That's why it's probably not played so much.
Yeah, it's slotted into some of my blue-red decks that have wanted like that last bit of burn, or that I've drained them down with the other kind of flame breathers or whatnot. And if there's so much life gain, it's pretty situational. So if you need a curve topper, you're not unhappy playing this. I think it gets a C or a C minus just because you don't need that many of them.
I've managed to play with I think it's Runo, the guy who can transform if you put a 6 drop on top of your deck. I've I
Yeah.
managed to draft that twice, but I had 2 in the same deck one time, and that made I splashed them in that,
Did
and
it?
that actually made
Does
this
Runo
made the
make
cut.
them sacrifice
No.
or exile?
Um, is it Runo? The one.
Yeah, or yeah, yeah, Runo.
So if you start your turn and you reveal a 6 drop creature,
No, no, no. But after combat, when the tokens come in.
Oh, that's a good point. I'm not sure what it happens to the tokens after. Are you checking that?
Runo makes them. Oh no, they don't die. They
They
stay.
don't
They don't get
die.
exiled.
Yeah,
They just stay there.
I didn't think
So
so.
that's pretty good.
I think I had 2 6 drops in that deck, and this wasn't the one that I ever got it off with, anyways. But
Yeah,
anyway, 6 drops are a thing. They're not too played too often, but if you have Runo, you can consider it higher. Did I give it a grade? I think I'll give it C minus. Going to our uncommons now. Magma Pummeler, red X. It's an elemental that's a 0/0, and it ETBs with X counters on it. If damage would be dealt to Magma Pummeler while it has a 1/1 counter on it, prevent that damage and remove that many 1/1 counters from it. When one or more counters are removed from Magma Pummeler, this way it deals that much damage to any target.
I like this card. I might be in a lonesome camp, but the reason I like it is that it's a later game card, but once you put it down, it's very threatening to be blocked, and it's very threatening to be destroyed. If you pay 5 mana, you have a 3/3 that can deal 3 when it dies, which is enough to generally eat 2 things. And if you get it on 6 or even 7 mana, which you won't do as often, you might be able to eat 2 to 3 things or kind of 2 bigger things.
I was pretty low on this card when the set came out, but it actually grew on me. I played it a couple times. It's actually a pain in the ass to attack into. Even if you have this as a 3/3, they're 6/6s staying back. There's one drawback with this is if they kill it with Fierce Retribution or any non-damage based removal, it's not going to do the thing. I thought I would be unhappy if this came down as a 2/2 ever, but even as a 2/2, I've found it fine. I just don't want it as a 3 drop. Anything above that, I've been happy. And of course, the 6/6 is crazy if you got that going, which happens sometimes as well. As long as you're
Yeah,
not
yeah. I mean,
throwing.
just being able to get an usually eke out 2 cards worth of things and removal, I think makes it reasonable.
Yeah,
I
I
look
didn't
at
know
it
it was
maybe
so
like
good defensively till I played with it, but I found it
yeah.
really good defensively because they even have like a 2/2 flyer. They don't want to die, so they can't attack with like any ground thing.
Um,
Yeah, it's grown on me. I think I'd take it at.
C plus maybe B minus C plus.
I don't think it reaches B because yeah, I'm not that happy to pick it up so early in a pack but I'm happy to pick it up usually. So C plus sounds right.
Yeah. The Runebound Wolf is 1 in a red for a uncommon 2/2 wolf. It has 3 in a red tap. Runebound Wolf deals damage equals the number of wolves and werewolves you control to target opponent.
I hate this card.
Um,
I've lost to it single handedly a few times already. It's just you don't want to hard remove a 2 drop, but you have to. It ends the game if they got a couple of wolves down. They're happy to make it nighttime by just using this on their turn. It works so well in the wolf deck, and it's a 2 mana 2/2. How can't go so wrong with that? Awesome
yeah,
card.
it's you can kind of ignore this thing until you actually can't ignore it. And then you have to deal with it. So it's a threat on itself. In the wolf deck, I would happily play these.
I've not played with it myself. I've only played against it a few times. I does it get? I think it's B minus. It might pull me right into red in the wolf's deck. I think it's B minus.
Yeah, I mean, B B minus if you're in the wolf deck. If you're playing this as a 2 mana 2/2,
Oh yeah.
4 mana deal 1 tap, that's like a D. So
If it's
don't do
early
that.
enough, if it's pick 5 in your first pack or whatever, and you're getting past this, you can. It's a good sign. So that's why I'd pick it at B minus. I
Yeah.
think. Or if you see this
Um,
pack 2 coming around late, yeah, maybe that deck's open.
the statuette. Nice.
Statuette is an artifact, sanguine statuette. It's 1 in a red. It ETBs gives you a blood, and whenever you sacrifice a blood, you can turn this thing into a 3/3 vampire with haste.
Uh, it's like not really what you want to be doing with your blood decks. I think this is an F.
Oh no, this has performed pretty well. I found it's not a high grade for me, but I've seen it be in aggressive decks, especially swinging in way more often than you think. And actually, what this causes is misplays. People forget that it turns into a 3/3 vampire.
Really?
Yeah, I'm running it in my league deck that's blood based, mostly to get early blood. As I said, early blood, it has all the advantages of mana screw and whatnot. I actually turned this into a Dreadfast demon one time. That had it on the board.
That's funny.
Um, it's just mainly for aggressive vampire decks that can use the blood early. It's not a high pick, but I don't think it's F. If you're in a blood heavy deck, gets better, but in general, it's probably like D plus. It's not a high pick.
What do you say? B plus?
D plus.
D plus.
If you're in heavy blood and you got 2 or 3 of these, it is actually super. I don't know what the word is.
Hmm.
Not fair.
Um, next 2-drop is something I want to play.
Oh yeah.
This is the Voltaic Visionary. It's 1 in a red for a 3/1 human wizard. At uncommon, it has tap. Voltaic Visionary deals 2 damage to you. Exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Activate as a sorcery. And when you play a card exiled with Voltaic Visionary, transform it.
It's a weird card. Activating the shock to yourself as a sorcery, and it doesn't transform unless you happen to be able to play that. So it's a bit of a risk. It's nice and red. Oh, sorry. On the back of it here is a 4/3 that can't block. Bolt Charge Berserker. Haven't played with it, but when I see 2 mana 3/1 with upside, it's not getting worse than a C minus. I think the ability can mostly usually draw you a card at some chance at some risk and at some damage to you. So it can't get too much higher than the C plus. I would probably bring it to C.
I like it um, at a B minus in a actually because it's a 2 mana 3/1 that if you're on the play and they don't have anything, you can just start whacking them. And you can play lands off of it. If you don't play the card, you don't transform it, so you just ping yourself for 2. And I wish it could block, but
It's a card of
it
lots of
turns into.
upsides and downsides.
I like the upsides on it better. I've always been happy with this card. It turns into a beater.
On turn 3, how often are we using the ability? Some you don't want to be, but if you can't make an attack, you are. Basically, it depends what they play.
Yeah, it completely depends on what they play, and so it's what's nice about this card. You can always kind of, um, instead of like that weary prisoner or whatever, you get the option of doing whatever you want with this. So you do it when it's good for you.
Okay, I still think it's probably C. Yeah, that's all. Let me see here. We have Alluring Suitor. It's a 3 mana 2/3 vampire. And when you attack with exactly 2 creatures, transforming Alluring Suitor. May I have this dance? It's good flavor. Deadly Dancer is a 3/3 trample, and when it transforms into Deadly Dancer, you get 2 red until end of turn, and you don't lose this mana as phases at step's end. If you play 2 red, Deadly Dancer, and another target creature each get 1/0. So you can do that multiple times, but it gives you the first one on the house if you just transform.
Yeah, I like this card. It's super strong. Mana accelerates yourself if you put it down on 3. You attack with 2 things, and if you have the Epicure and something else, and you basically then play another 2-drop. Or if it's attacking itself on turn 4, you can add 2 mana, play a 6-drop on turn 4.
Oh, you can't attack when it's attacking by itself. You can't. You don't get mana.
No. But I'm saying that if you have if you do 1/2 suitor attack, like turn 3 attack with 2 things on the board,
Oh yeah.
you can either pump one of them, or you can ideally play something for 2 mana.
I actually just drafted with 3 of these in my deck, and the mana ramp is actually the best thing I like about this because you can often play like a 6-drop or 4 drop and a 2-drop or removal plus 4-drop, even on turn 4. It's pretty crazy to ramp that hard.
Yeah. I think that's more of the typical play pattern. Is you put it down on 3, you have a 2-drop, you attack with 2 things turn 4, and then you get 6 mana to play with.
Play this if you got 1s and 2-drops, more like gets best there, obviously. Turning it over on turn 4 is what you want to do. So make sure you have 1s and 2-drops. What do you like to rate this?
I like this at a B- as well.
Yeah, it seems like all the uncommons that are not crazy but just solid are B-. That sounds right for this. Next is Blood Hypnotist.
Blood Hypnotist is 3 in red, uncommon, 3/3 vampire that can't block. It has whenever you sacrifice 1 or more blood tokens, target creature can't block this turn. This ability triggers only once each turn.
You got to remember that once each turn. A lot of people forget that bit. I've gotten blown out from this just because getting rid of basically for free the best blocker on the opponent's side, that's underrated. Obviously, this can't block. It says offense all over it. It's like an offensive vampire card. It's been solid, but if you need it to block, you won't be quite as happy. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's strong. Maybe not quite as strong as the other ones, but I think that the upside gets really high if you have multiples of these. I had 2 on the battlefield at once. And I like cracked a blood token. And all of a sudden it was like just the entire board stopped blocking, and they were like
Defending opponent cannot
burning.
block.
Yeah, just like burning removal to get these guys out of there. So it has upside. You want to be on the aggro. You don't want to be defending with this guy, obviously.
It's one of the stronger uses for blood tokens, and a card that doesn't actually produce them. So that's one thing to note. There's not too many cards that don't produce them that use them. I think C plus. You're gonna say?
I think so.
That's what I was thinking. It's not quite as strong as the Alluring Suitor we just saw. You don't need a ton of blood for this to work, but yeah, it's C plus. C plus sounds right.
Yeah, it's a little bit more conditional than the other two, which you can get much easier.
Yeah. We have our only vehicle of the set, Honeymoon Hearse. It's a 3 mana 5/5, 2 in a red. It's an artifact vehicle with trample, and its crew cost, although it's not called crew, is tap 2 untapped creatures you control, and it becomes a creature until end of turn, so it's crew. For some reason, that's what it's called. It's not called crew, but anyway, what do you think?
Never found its way into a deck that I've wanted to play it in. I mean,
Same
you got a
here.
lot of tokens, I guess.
You
But
want this with 1/1s, right? So you're
yeah,
not really getting plants or spirits in your red decks usually. It's possible, I guess. That's where this would be best, I suppose. Maybe Voldaren Epicure and something, but I've yet to have it make my deck either.
yeah, I think crew is nice because it becomes, you just sort of have one thing that can't attack anyways, and that's why you're sort of trading you're trading one creature that's blanked into something that's better with a vehicle usually, and something that's hard to interact with because it's only there for a short window. With this thing though, you're always taking 2 dudes off the battlefield
Yeah, it
to
could
make
give you
it.
surprise blocks. That's something that vehicles that are huge at the start of the game sometimes do, but you're
Yeah,
gonna really want to go 1-drop, 2-drop into this if that's the case. In which case,
yeah.
you guys are
Two
tapped.
honeymooners happen to go.
Yeah, I can't give
I
this
think
higher than D. I think.
I think this is a D minus. Wait,
Okay.
Markov Retribution is next. It's 2 in a red for a sorcery. You get choose one or both. Creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. Target vampire, and then the other option, target vampire you control deals damage equal to its power to another creature.
It's a weird
So you have a
card.
vampire bite. Yeah,
it's like board buffing at sorcery speed, which is kind of weird on its own, and then removal only with vampire, but it'll buff that vampire. I actually played 2 of these in a single deck that I didn't have much removal for, And it made my plays real weird. Because I'd do something like pre-combat, buff my creature, hit bite something, and then use another spell and then attack. Like it just got my turns got really weird with this, but it actually performed as pseudo removal since my vampire density was high enough. Have you used it?
Yeah, I've definitely put it into my vampire decks, and it's done well. It hasn't really wowed me, but I think I would always stick it in a vampire heavy deck.
There's been a lot of cards we've seen that so far that are like aggro vampire suited, but my vampire decks haven't even really been too aggro in general. They've been like get your menace creature in here and there, have a removal, but then keep cycling your cards with blood tokens. But this is again, it seems like an aggro vampire card where you can just buff your board, bite something, swing out.
Yeah, I like it at like a probably a C plus.
I think it'll probably be C. You need you need vampire density, that's for sure. You gotta have enough vampires for this to matter. I think it's gonna be I think I'd put it at C.
Mhm.
Right, the next uncommon here is Rending Flame. 2 and a red instant, and it does 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent is a spirit, Rending Flame also does 2 damage to the controller.
Yeah, 3 mana, deal 5 is really good. Um, and every time it's been printed, you have a slight upside if you're playing the blue white deck. I mean, this is a B plus, I think, for me.
The upside is even bigger on the blue-white deck because they tend to want to put auras on their creatures,
Mm.
and this wrecks them even harder. So I found it best there. But yeah, you have Flame Blast Bolt and a Braid at common, and then you got this at uncommon. This is the best of the three, I'd say. We gave it B minus, B and B. I gave I gave a Braid and Flame Blast Bolt B minus and B. I think this is B plus.
Okay. Another vampire centric card. This is Vampire's Vengeance, 2 in red for a instant at uncommon. Vampire's Vengeance deals 2 damage to each non-vampire creature. Create a blood token.
I don't have
Uh,
too much experience with this card myself. It seems just fine in the vampire deck because it's gonna hurt your opponent more than you, but it's dead against the vampire deck too a lot of the time. It's tough to know what to make of this. The fact that it's an instant board wipe though makes things you can blow out your opponent if they attack you and you do some specific blocks. Which
yeah, I think the most I've ever gotten with this is like 4 creatures. I was playing like a red green aggro deck, and then went Sporeback Wolf, Hungry Ridge Wolf, like boom, 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 wolf, 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 and I went.
the Sporeback, which only has 2 health on their side, on their
Yeah, on
turn.
their turn, so I had to wait until my turn, and then just it's I think you're going to run into more decks that this is going to get you a 2-for-1 than decks you're not going to get a 2-for-1 against.
Also gives you a blood token. So this is more control-y vampire deck kind of card, I'd say. Um,
Yeah,
Not
B
necessarily, but
minus
more
for
than
me.
some of them. You think it's B minus?
I think so. I mean, very easy to get a 2. I mean, so it's like pretty easy to get a 1-for-1.
I was thinking
Not
B minus
terribly
or
hard
C plus. It's just hard to tell.
scaling because it's like if you manage to wipe out 3 things,
It's a great
you're
deal.
a great deal. If you get 2 things, you're totally happy, and if you knock out 1 thing, it's you're not super happy.
And a
But
blood
I
token.
think that, and you get a blood token.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
think
B
the chance that
minus. B minus seems right, and it reaches that point easily if you got almost all vampires in your deck, which happens quite a bit.
yeah.
Ooh, spicy card here. It's one of the best uncommons. It's Ballista Watcher. It's 2 red and 2 colorless. Human Soldier Werewolf. And it's a 4/3, and it has the ability to ping any target for 2 and a red and tap it. It has day bound, so when it transforms, it does something similar. It picks up the ballista, and it's now called Ballista Wielder. It's a 5/5, and it has the ability to ping for 2 and a red, and it does not have to tap, and it can ping any target, and a creature dealt damage this way cannot block this turn. What do you think of that?
This card is really good. I think it's funny that it's watching it. It's not. It still gets to ping it, but it doesn't. It's not called Ballista User at the beginning.
Oh yeah, true.
The it taps. I think the cool thing about this card is you have to make sure that you know if it's night or day. It taps when it's on the front side. It does not tap on the back side. And I've definitely forgotten that and tapped it and been like, oh, my blocker is gone now.
It's a little tough to use this card. Sometimes you want to play it. Sometimes you don't want to use the ability. You pass it, pass turn, becomes night. And then sometimes you want to use your stuff on upkeep. Sometimes you want to save your mana to just make their whole board not be able to block, which can definitely end the game. It's tough to use this card, but it seems strong. Like a rare.
Yeah, I mean, in some decks, against some decks, like the green-white deck or the blue-white deck that just has like all these one power, one toughness things floating around. I mean, it just wrecks them, and the second you start making things not block.
How about using the scorpion in the green scorpion that gives things death touch with this? It's a bit expensive, but
Yeah, and then you get 5 mana kill anything. I've never pulled off that combo.
it's not amazing, but it's spicy. What do we give this? I think it's a pull into red. I'm happy to give it B.
Yeah, I think it's a solid B, maybe even a B plus. It's definitely first pickable easily.
Yeah. I think I'll give it B. It's close to B plus though in my mind. Alright, 3 more uncommons left.
Yep. Into the Night is 3 in red for a sorcery at uncommon. It says it becomes night, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards +1.
This is constructed probably. I've never wanted to use it. Night isn't even that good. I'm sorry, night can often be good, but you don't want to use a 4-mana sorcery to make it night. It's meant to be played with after you rummage away with blood, then you get some extra benefit. But yeah, constructed, you can discard your hand and do silly stuff. I want this at like 1 or 2 mana before I'm playing it, so it's probably F.
4 mana to just do this is so much. It's an F.
Yeah, I like what they're trying to do. But. All right, Lamb Holt or Raconteur. It's a 4-mana 2/4. It's 3 in a red. So human werewolf. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it does 1 damage to each opponent. And on the back side here, we have a werewolf that does the same thing, but doubled, so 2 damage to each opponent. Lamholt Ravager.
This thing's pretty powerful. If you have spells, it's sort of interesting in that it is a werewolf that goes more so in a spell stack. But it fits in a spells deck because you have more instant speed control and you can flip it to the night more easily. And it's 2 spells getting 4 damage and is really good. So I think you only need to cast one spell with this thing alive and flipped to make it worthwhile.
It's like the big Kisig Flame Breather.
Yeah.
Kisig Flame Breather's father. Yeah, it's not the most strong card. It's not the weakest card. It's probably being cut in my deck if I'm not doing the non-creature thing most of the time. So I'm probably still only giving it like, I think C minus. The fact that it's going to be cut a lot, I can't say I'm too happy to run it with outside of blue red.
Yeah, I'll give it a C, probably trending C plus actually. It can be very dangerous.
Yeah, if they're on a clock, it's best there. If you're like kind of just want to get their life total down kind of deck that they call aggro. Alright, the last uncommon here.
So Frenzied Devils, 4 in a red for a 3/3 devil with haste. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Frenzied Devils gets 2/2/2+ until end of turn.
Yeah, it's pretty much the most cuttable uncommon creature here in red. It's meant for maybe a deck with crazy amounts of low cost instants and sorceries. But yeah, I've never seen this perform. It's just too clunky for what you're trying to do for an aggro deck. It's probably D
Yeah,
minus in my mind.
it's 5 mana. It's so expensive, and then you have to have a handful of spells after your curve topper. Really tough to do.
Give me trample, and
Yeah,
I might be interested in doing something.
trample I would like. Trample would change the card.
Yeah.
D minus for me.
All right, so let's go to the rares for red. First one, Kisig Wolf Rider. It's a 1-drop human knight, and it has menace. It's a 1/2, and it has the ability 2 in a red, tap it, exile 3 cards from your graveyard, and you get a 3/2 wolf token. Red wolf token.
Yeah, I like this. Really cheap to play for its effects. If it's early as a 1-drop, you can peck in probably once or twice. And then it sits around for a long time until you start making wolves.
Yeah. Not much more to add. It's a 1-drop that's powerful even late. Not the best card by any means. I'd rather a bunch of stuff over it, but still, it'll do the thing. I'd probably give it like C.
This is straight C.
Yeah.
I think a B minus is where I put it because anything that can turn
You
dead
need
cards into
you need
tokens I
3
like.
cards in your graveyard. I'm thinking you can do that once or twice maybe if you want to take the time. I don't know. I've never seen this played or anything. My thought is like it's probably a C though. All right. Oh, cool card here.
Alchemist Gambit, 1 and 2 red for a rare sorcery. It has cleave. So without cleave, you take an extra turn after this one. During that turn, damage can't be prevented. At the beginning of that turn's end step, you lose the game, and then you exile Alchemist Gambit. If you cleave it for 4 blue, blue, red, 7 mana, you just take an extra turn,
Uh,
and then it exiles.
it's probably an F. Maybe it has some advantages in constructed. I've only seen this cast once, and it was when my opponent was about to lose, and they just used it and didn't kill me, so I won.
I have legit lost to this card because they did, and like they got me squeaked past lethal, like 1 or 2, and I had like
Did you lose to the
you
cleave
know
cost or no?
no, just 1 red red.
Okay. I
But
mean,
they
you're gonna
at least
lose to this card 99% of the time, right? Isn't that how it's like designed?
yeah.
This
Yeah,
card has
and
designed
they're losing to it the other 99% of the time because
70
it's just sitting
lands.
there
Is
in
gonna
there.
say it's the best card ever because it wins every time you play it.
Um, yeah, that's how my luck in this set's been, just getting the unluckiest cards right as the opponent needs them. But this is an F.
Yeah. Alrun's Epiphany. It's not. Curse of Hospitality is a Aura Curse enchantment that is 2 in a red. Enchant player. Creatures attacking enchanted player have trample. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to enchanted player, that player exiles the top card of their library. Until end of turn, that creature's controller, this is weirdly worded, but that means you, in this case, may play that card, and they may spend mana as though there was a mana of any color to cast this spell. So your creatures are having trample when they attack your opponent if you play it on your opponent, and then you get to exile stuff when those hit the player and play it.
I've had this card used against me and it won the game. It has a bad reputation of not being a good card, and it's kind of construct or commander focused,
Oh
but
yeah, yeah, I could see that.
it's a strong effect.
You get several cards if several creatures hit, I guess, right? Whenever a
Yeah,
creature. That makes commander players all focus on a player, I suppose.
yeah, it's kind of the reverse of like being the uh,
Oh, the monarch.
being the muskill. You being the monarch, you sort of like you literally curse somebody that people start getting advantage if they're attacking them.
That's interesting.
Um,
I've never played with or against this card yet. Doesn't seem the worst to me. Does not seem great. I can't put it into B range. It seems
Yeah, it's definitely a builder around. Maybe like
aggro. I
some of
mean,
your
if you're
aggro
playing
decks
any,
are gonna want it. Your spells decks maybe.
I think it's like firmly right. I can't tell if it's good or bad, and I'm gonna lazily give it a C, because I could see it being good sometimes, great sometimes, but also unplayable sometimes.
Yeah, I think it averages down because you're gonna play it sometimes and you're just gonna demolish them with their own cards, and it's gonna feel really fun. And then sometimes you're gonna play it and you're not gonna be able to do anything. It's probably better in Sealed League
Oh
than
yeah, yeah. Sealed League's getting to the point where the aggressive decks coming real together, though.
yeah, and especially in like a slower format, if you can peck in with one thing and just start getting card advantage, um, that's I think where this thing's gonna shine.
I'm gonna pick it next time I see it, though. It's almost for sure.
You build around it. Dominating Vampire is one red for a vampire at rare. It's a 3/3, and it has when Dominating Vampire enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature with mana value less than or equal to the number of vampires you control until end of turn. It gains haste and you untap it.
You can join me
So
or feed
it's
me. Choose fast. This is, yeah, it's a threaten on a vampire card. It can just get haste if you have 3 vampires, including itself. Um, I had this in my league pool, but it's been underwhelming even with a lot of vampires. I don't know. Still threatening doesn't isn't I don't know. Situational, I suppose, is the problem with it.
yeah, I've played it twice, and yeah, it's supposed to help you be aggro or help it be a 3/3 haste, but it's really a lot of work. It's not like the Hulking Bugbear, which just was a 3/3 haste,
Yeah,
which was super good.
I think 3 mana 3/3s in red decks are often fine as it is. It's a little harder to cast, so it can't be too bad of a floor.
Yeah, I think it's a C. It might reach a C plus sometimes, but you got
Yeah,
to do work for it.
in a heavy vampire deck, I'd put it at C plus. Why not? If you don't have a lot of vampires, it's like getting hit hard. Can't even do the thing it's supposed to do, and it's a hard to cast. I'd say a heavy
Yeah,
vampire deck. I'd give it C plus, C minus otherwise
yeah,
probably.
agreed.
All right, we have Change of Fortune. It's a 4 mana sorcery. Discard your hand, then draw a card for each card you've discarded this turn.
So is this supposed to be like you have like do a lot of blood and then you draw a lot of cards? I don't know how to use this card. I don't think it's good.
I completely confused this for Into the Night that we just saw in the uncommons. Discard any
They're
number of
both
cards, then draw that many plus 1. Okay, I see why.
they're both bad.
Yeah, this one wants you to sacrifice a lot of blood tokens beforehand. That's what they wanted you to do in constructed or something, or have one of those wheel of fortune or whatever it's called. Just those anything that lets you just sack your hand. Sorry, discard your hand. Mass discarding. I suppose that's why they costed it so high, because there's a lot of value in some constructed formats of discarding your whole hand and getting a lot of stuff in your graveyard. So that's probably why it costs so much.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, so in any limited format, this is like straight up card disadvantage to begin with,
Yeah,
and you have to discard 2 cards to even draw one.
it's gonna be a
Comparing this to
trap
like
for some people. It's gonna be a trap, I think, to try and get the like
this
6
is
mana play where you use 2 blood tokens and use this. But it's an F. Pretty simple, I
definitely
guess.
not
I like it, but it's an F.
the
What do we have
puppeteer.
next? We have puppeteers here.
Puppeteer. So 4 and a red for a human rogue 4/3 at haste that has haste. Whenever the puppeteer attacks, if you attack with exactly one other creature this combat, you may have that creature's base power and toughness become 4/3 until end of turn.
Might be one of those cards where you remove it or you're gonna die very soon. It's probably what it is. If you don't have a 3 attack blocker, that is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's probably say A minus.
I don't know that it gets that high because it dies on the ground so easily, but a 4/3 haste at 4 is good enough. And like the floor is that you generally pump up your creature by 2 or
Yeah,
3
it's
each.
true. It's true. Yeah,
So
maybe it's only B plus. It might just come down and die. That's true.
yeah, I like it at B plus.
Yeah, late game on a gummed up board, it's actually not impressive at all. Yeah, B plus sounds right to me. If you're again, we've been saying this a lot about it's not even a vampire, but vampire decks. There's a lot of aggro support.
Yeah, I mean I've hit people for 8 with this, and it just feels like a huge swing.
Yeah, or on turn 6, you just like remove their best blocker with an abrade and then bring in 8 damage. It's kind of hard to come back from.
Yeah.
This is Ill-Tempered Loner. It's a 4-mana 3/3. It's 2 red and 2 colorless. It's a werewolf, human werewolf. When Ill-Tempered Loner is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target. It has an ability, pay 1 in a red, and it gets 2/0 until end of turn. That's the day bound side. And on the night side, Hellpack Avenger. Whenever a permanent you control is dealt damage, Hellpack Avenger deals that much damage to any target. So it's any permanent instead of just him. And it has the same ability of 2/0.
Is this thing just covered in like Ikoria exploding crystals or something?
Oh,
Is
I'm
that
not
the
sure.
I think that's
A
it's just
loner.
like if you touch it, it just explodes. This card is really good.
Oh yeah, that
It
might be
will
it.
usually trade off for something by itself if it's on the front side, and if it's on the back side, anything that gets blocked can trade up or can just send that damage straight to the face. So if you have things to just toss in, you can just kill people.
I'm
It
scared
just
of
blocks more money.
swinging out with all my stuff, not caring what they do, because there's going to be so much damage to their face. And then when I do that swing out, they just instant remove the guy, and then I lose the game because they get all the right blocks. That's the downside of swinging out. But oftentimes it's just not going to be night, and this is just fine by itself anyway. This is
Yeah,
just
I
fine as
think it.
like one card that swings in for 5 damage and can kill something else when they block it.
Yeah, I like that as an A. Because I
Um,
mean, sometimes you can just win.
I'm gonna
Maybe A
2 for 1.
minus.
I think it'd be A minus in my mind because it's 2 for 1 a lot. It's just not like I have to deal with this or I lose. If
Yeah,
you save up
yeah,
instant removal with this guy, actually, yeah, it's probably A minus. But with the situation I just described is if you swing everything out, but there's nothing stopping you from just swinging with your 4/4 while this is on board, and then you're very happy anyway. This guy, the back of this is on the board. You swing with your 4/4. Who cares if the instant remove your guy? You're not losing that badly.
yeah. Stensia Uprising.
Yeah.
Another fun card here.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
2 red enchantment at rare. It has at the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 human token. Then, if you control exactly 13 permanents, the 13th motif of Vow, you may sacrifice Stensia Uprising. When you do, it deals 7 damage to any target.
This has to have the I'm glad I'm not playing with this in paper magic award for me. Between the 1/1, I've seen so many misplays with this. Pretty much every time I've seen someone play with this on MTGA, I haven't used it yet. There's been a misplay because blood tokens are a thing, combat math is a thing. The 1/1, you need to end your turn with 12 things because this makes it 13th. And if you get over the 13, good luck like getting back under. It's not going to be that easy. It's so weird. I think it's I think people are going to overrate this because it's cool. 7 damage to any target's fine, but I think you're losing too much just trying to make that happen. If you luckily have it, that's great, obviously. And yeah, I'm
But
glad I'm not playing with this in paper because you have to
I think
count.
this is just good because I mean it's 4 mana, make a 1/1 every turn.
Yeah,
So
that's a
you
good
have
casting
to
ability. Yeah,
if this thing sits for 3 turns, you've got your mana's worth back. I think.
yeah, like it's like a indestructible planeswalker sitting on there, like giving you 1/1 every turn or something.
Yeah,
That can ultimate randomly for 7. Um, I think people are gonna overrate it because it's really cool. and overrating it because they're gonna misplay with it. I don't know if that should factor into my rating or not, because I've seen so many
Yeah,
misplay.
I think it's a B plus. I mean, it's slow in an aggro format.
I think I'll give it B because it is slow. Affecting the board so little for 4 mana. It's used to be just fine in older sets, but you get so punished when your average 3 drop is like a belligerent guest. You don't. It's hard to like skip a turn or anything. Like it's
Yeah, I
hard
mean,
these days.
I've played against it and I've been like, okay, 1, 2, 3, like, because then like both sides have to count how many stuff is out there. So, oh, when's that 7 damage gonna come in?
Why can't it be
It's a fun
7
card.
permanents and 13 damage? It'd be really hard to get 7 permanents with the amount with mana on the board and stuff.
Yeah.
That'd be also OP, but yeah, I think B. I think I give it a B. I haven't played with it yet though. Wow, it's one of my favorite cards. I have not played with it yet. It's called Olivia's Attendance. 6 mana, 6/6. It's the chunkiest red card. Menace. Olivia's Attendance. When they deal damage, create that many blood tokens, and it can ping for 2 and a red. 1 damage to any target. Blood, blood, blood.
This might be my favorite card of the set. We're really close. I have gotten to play with it, and I have played against it. And it's usually, I remember it just destroyed me once, and then one time, I think did 51 damage, uh, through the entire course of a game
You're just like
with
chumping.
Olivia. I got like 51 tokens from it, just destroying stuff left and right, and otherwise at a standstill.
This is by far
Um,
the easiest way to produce blood in this set.
yeah. It's a 6/6 menace for 6, which is already good. Um, and then if it can't get in, you can just pass and start um, taking down 2 drops. Uh, Interestingly enough, I think its own it produces too much blood on its own to really fuel itself, because
To
once you
use it.
have, yeah, like you want 9 mana so that you can kill 3 toughness stuff. Um, but you're dunking blood.
There's no
Um,
mass way to use blood either. Like there's no like sacrifice 5 blood. Actually, there's the one thing that sacrifices 5 blood tokens, I guess. But yeah, there's a critical amount of blood where it starts getting relevant because you can even deck yourself. That being
yeah,
said, what do we want to give this? It's A for me, I think.
A close to an A plus.
If it didn't have the ping ability, where would it be? It would be pretty close to A anyway. Probably A minus.
Yeah, 6 mana 6/6 that created blood when it dealt damage would
Like
probably be
six.
an A minus.
It's 6 blood after one swing, even if they happily block it. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's A for me.
this thing's capable of winning a game all by itself.
Some recursion is awesome too with these nice red creatures if you got a vampire
Oh,
deck with a blood fountain in it.
yeah, the blood fountain makes it silly.
So we
Um,
got 5. No, we got 4 red mythics.
all right, the Cemetery Gatekeeper. I've not gotten to play with. I don't think I've had any gatekeepers yet. It's 1 in a red. For a 2/1 mythic vampire with first strike.
Any
When
cemetery
it
cards. I
enters,
think they're all cemetery is the cycle.
oh yeah, what did I say?
Gatekeepers. But it's hard to think of that. It's hard to remember what the cycle is.
Oh right. There's some. Yeah. I have. Yeah. Oh, that's right. I played with the green one, I think.
Cemetery Desecrator, that's what I remember.
So when this guy enters the battlefield, you exile a card from a graveyard. Whenever a player plays a land or casts a spell, if it shares the card type with the exiled card, it deals 2 damage to that gatekeeper to that player.
This is like
So
Thalia. It's a 2 mana 2/1 first strike. Except not exactly. Um, I've never played with this card either. I really want to see it exile a land though. That'd be sweet.
yeah, it exiles a land and they either kill it or take like 6 damage over the course of the next um, thing, and you take 4 damage. It's like, yeah.
You do have the
Um,
situation where you're screwed if you play this sometimes because you can't take the damage, but that's going to be the exception rather than the rule. Also, you have some control about what you exile.
yeah.
So
I think in most cases you can make it so that you're punishing your opponent more so than you. Um, Especially because you're going to have access to blood probably in this deck. So you
Oh
can just,
yeah, you did.
yeah, if you manage to nab a land, you can always pitch your own. Um,
Yeah, I didn't
and
realize that. It synergizes with blood.
yeah, two mana first strike. It's always good. 2 mana first strike, just exile a card is fine
Yeah,
in this set.
it's gonna be happily included in some vampire deck for sure. I'd probably give it B.
Yeah, I think like a B plus is where I'm gonna put it.
All right, yeah, even better in aggro, obviously because of well, just the 2-drop nature and the you don't care about both taking damage if you're aggro. Now we got Chandra Just to Kill. It is a planeswalker for 3 mana, so red, red, and colorless. 3 loyalty starting, and it has the ability +1 loyalty counter. Add red. Chandra Just to Kill deals 1 damage to up to 1 target creature, player or planeswalker, so it pings planeswalkers or players. The other +1 loyalty is exile the top card of your library. If it's red, you may cast it this turn, so not lands, which is iffy. And then -7 loyalty, so you can do that on after 4 pluses. Exile the top 5 cards of your library. You may cast red spells from among them this turn. You get an emblem with whenever you cast a red spell, this emblem deals X damage to any target, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell.
This reads more like a constructed card to me, like a mono red kind of thing. In limited, so you're ramping basically a red mana every turn and kind of pinging them a little bit. It doesn't protect itself, which is the generally what you want to be generally what planeswalkers do well in limited, or planeswalkers that do well in limited do, is that they make something to protect itself so that their other abilities can gain value
Yeah,
incrementally
that's
over the
usually been
game.
the defining factor between good and bad planeswalkers in limited.
Uh, so this you have to have ways to protect it, and um, its exile abilities are really going to hurt if you are not heavily in red.
Yeah, if you're playing 2 colors, the second ability here is gonna miss way more often than you're comfortable with. Here's what I'll say about 3 mana planeswalkers, because Oko came out and they're careful about people dropping planeswalkers on turn 3. We saw Kaya is the same way. It's another 3 mana planeswalker in this set. They can't make them too powerful. This is basically if you're mono red, you're ramping one and pinging for one. It's just not good enough. I at least
Yeah,
want to
I
play
think that
lands with the second thing. I can't.
yeah, if it was play land, if it was play that card, I mean it would be really a slam dunk include. Um,
I'm not even.
Otherwise,
Yeah, it's not strong enough.
yeah, if you have like a mono red deck that has a lot of removal and you're like just gonna try to incrementally get value from it, it may be workable, but it's like a
Yeah,
build around C, I think, C plus.
I can't take this highly. I might take it if it's at the end of the pack, but I really want to be like mono. Even the ultimate, if I'm not red, no, it's an F. If you're mono red, I can see it being C. If you're mono red only, it's just not good enough otherwise. I'm ultimating and I get like not even that good. It's like unacceptable. It's Maniform Hellkite's our next card, second to last card here.
A mana from Hellkite, 2 red for a 4/4 thick dragon with flying. Has a kind of burn ability with it. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX red dragon illusion creature with flying and haste, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast that spell, and you exile it at the beginning of the next end step.
This
Um,
card, I played with it once. I made exactly 1 illusion the whole run, but I had like 4 really good rares in that run anyway. I didn't need it. But wow, it's crazy if you think about it, how good this card is. 4 mana 4/4 flying at its very base. Hell yeah. and then you get illusions every time you do the very tough thing of casting a non-creature spell that's gonna swing in for more damage. It's like A. I don't want to give A pluses to things that just die to removal. What do you think?
Yeah, I think an A. You can generate. So a 4/4 flyer is just. It's like you're never going to cut this thing ever. It's beefier than most of the other flyers around. And then you sort of just get shocks if you have other spells. Um, you also have the ability to really mess with people's attacks because if this thing's swinging in the air and you have mana up and they try to play something or swing on defense, like they cannot calculate how much damage you're going to have to just bring it to a defensive dragon. And that's really strong.
You don't need a ton of instants and sorceries or just non-creatures to make this good, but obviously you want to get some benefit from the card text, so maybe have at least 5 or 6 in your deck, which you usually
Yeah,
have anyway.
yeah. If you find this late, don't try to slam all the bad instants and sorceries to make this better. Just put it in your deck and just let it do its thing. Don't go crazy and build around this guy. Just let it
Yeah.
hit stuff.
And rounding off all our red's crazy cards here, you have Volatile Arsonist. It's a 3 colorless and 2 red, so it's a 5 mana 4/4. It's a human werewolf with menace and haste. Menace, that's a vampire thing. Come on. Whenever Volatile Arsonist attacks, it deals 1 damage to each of up to 1 target creature, up to 1 target player, and up to 1 target planeswalker. That's on the day side, and it transforms into Direstream Anarchist. Menace and haste 5/5. Whenever Direstream Anarchist attacks, it deals 2 damage to each up to 1 target creature, player, or planeswalker. So same thing but doubled.
This thing's I've never seen this card played yet, but wow, it seems strong.
I had it finish me off on a game. It's not really didn't really do too much besides I was already dead. So that's the only time I saw this card played.
Yeah, haste menacers. Um, I mean, I think that you could probably just consider them as like 4 damage to the face almost any time. And this is going to be kind of 5 damage to the face most of the time because
If it's
people are going to be.
nighttime, this is a crazy amount of burst damage. You could be comfortably at like 13 life. If it's nighttime, your opponent plays this down. Ooh, you have a almost unblockable 5 attack thing. He just took away a chump blocker and did 2 damage to your face. That's before any combat damage.
Things that kind of change combat math are really good. Um, they come out of nowhere like this guy does. So I think it's A minus probably.
I think I'm happy to give
A,
this.
A.
I'm happy to give this A. I think if it didn't have menace, it would be different because it would often be like, okay, I block, I took a damage, lost a creature. I think I'm happy to give it A just because like they ping off. Often with menace things, you want to block with like a 4/4 and a 2/2, but you just lost your 2/2 or your 1/1 when this attacks.
Yeah, so this trades up to a 7/7/7 or higher. Um, yeah,
If it's on the backside.
yeah. If it's swinging as a 5/5 and it deals 2 damage, uh, that means you can, yeah, take out a 4/4 and 3. So
So that's all for red. Best color in the set, most likely. I mean, a lot of people are saying that. It's not exactly a unique opinion, but
yeah, I think the thing is that the interestingly enough about red, that it really rests on the commons in the blood, um, because it's not as bomb heavy. I don't think as like black or blue, or even green. It doesn't have many cards that are just going to end the game on the spot, but it's just so consistent.
solid removal, solid creatures, great aggro package, and control-y. So yeah, that's all for red.